Hello, everyone. We'll start welcoming you here to Gov School today, and we're live on YouTube, and we'll get the class started here in just a second. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to start welcoming you here to Gov School, where we're going to talk about disaster contracting, and we'll get started here in just a couple of minutes. I'd like to make sure everybody gets an opportunity to get into the room with us. This is a live recorded version. It will be broadcast on YouTube. And you can go to our YouTube channel immediately after this class and watch it again or download a copy of it and share it with your friends, however you like to do that. You're currently muted, and I appreciate you coming today. If you have a question, though, you do have the capacity to unmute yourself. But I would ask you to, if you wouldn't mind, just maintain the mute status until we can, and so everybody can hear us until we actually open it up for questions. Or if you have a question as we go along, I actually will be controlling that mute. It's nothing personal. It just helps everybody with the background, and so that they can all have an opportunity to hear us. Let's see here. I'm screen sharing. Takes me just a minute. They always constantly going in and updating these platforms, and they change it every time I log in. It seems like. My name is Mark Knowles. I'm one of the founders of Gov Directions, and we're here today to talk to you about contracting with in disaster contracts. It's on everybody's mind right now. We're seeing a large storm come through Florida and then Georgia, and then potentially problems in South Carolina, North Carolina, and who knows? It looks like it's going to be a major flooding event as well. So I'd like for you to make sure you're ready to go and you have access to the information you need. Thankful to all of those who took a few minutes to read our message today, and by email. I apologize. I misspelled the very first word. I looked at the thing 100 times, and of course we all know how to spell new. It does have that K. And so I apologize to everybody who caught that. But we were, having a little bit of fun in what is definitely going to be a tragic event by any means. It's going to be one of the unprecedented storm, it looks like. But we're referring back to Forrest Gump, who really kind of stepped in there after that hurricane and made some money. And that's what some of us want to do here is, get in there and help out, providing a good, solid service, but at the same time, rewarding your company for really kind of being in the right place at the right time. And so I want to talk to you today about how to make sure that uh, you are actually available. And so I'm sharing with just a few minutes as I let everybody continue to come in the room. And let me make sure I've got my video here. Okay. Everybody can see our screen okay? Give me a thumbs up. Certainly would be appreciated. Good, good. Okay, there we go. And so this is a PowerPoint that I'll give you access to after the class. I'm going to go ahead and drop in the chat box a share link. So if anybody wants to go on there and actually download it, you can. Anyone with this link can gain access to these slides. I'll have some really cool links in there. If you find anything that's broken or anything, you reach out to me and I'll make sure you have the right one. But here's that link there today. Still letting everybody in the room. It looks like we got a full house today. So appreciate you coming. And we're actually we just closed our offices in South Georgia. It's already starting to get pretty heavy there. We'll probably end up closing our offices pretty much throughout. We have 3 offices in Georgia, and so we'll probably close them tomorrow. So please bear with us as we try to recover, trying to let some of our families get situated and make sure they're living in a safe situation. This is going to be by all means, an unprecedented storm going through Georgia. We have a lot of pine trees, and we're anticipating to see some of those come down. I've been around long enough to remember Hurricane Opal when it came through, and I think we lost some 4,000 trees in Atlanta, along with over 1,000 poles power poles, and so I think they're expecting the wind speed to be actually a little higher for this one, and the amount of rain as well. So it's going to be an impactful event. And so with any impactful event, we look toward our government agencies really step in and help us through that process. And as we all know, in the United States, we have a very strong philosophy, really built on the whole concept of the theory of the firm, and how we contract with each other, why we choose to do that. Because you as a company, you have a specific expertise that is needed, and can be I didn't remove you there. I'm trying to continue to let people in. And you have something that a government can use, and they want to make sure they can do that. It's more efficient, more economical for them to reach out to you as an expert. And so they contract, and those contracts oftentimes in a disaster situation are quick, and you have to be ready to go, and you have to be organized in a specific way in order to respond. And you still have time. Now, ideally, you would have already been getting prepared for these storms, and you're already on some registries, and you are you'll get alerted. Maybe you've already been alerted because you're on the appropriate spots. But if not, you will be in the future. But you still have time, and governments will be reaching out to organizations who are on in these directories that I'm going to talk about. And you have as soon as you get in there nowadays, it's almost immediate. Used to, 20 years, 25 years ago, it wasn't immediate, but now it's as soon as you provide the information, you're right, you go straight on the list. And so that's important to do that. And so here you go, and you have, once again, a hurricane situation. And this is the latest actual release. I just copied it at 225. It's already at a major hurricane status. We're seeing some estimates it could be a category 4, maybe even potentially, I saw last night, a category 5. So that's extremely dangerous. It comes straight in and goes straight up and creates a lot of damage. And I want to share with you, everything I talk about today is not just limited to a hurricane. I think I saw tweeting, or I think on X now, what's trending is there was actually a earthquake of some sort. Earthquakes, floods that'll come after some of this here, and more are always engaged with disaster-related spending. And in fact, we saw, just a few years back, a large amount of funds tied to disaster contracting with COVID. And so you see it in a lot of different need sources, and just about every industry is impacted. So it's always helpful to make sure that you're on the disaster response registry and that you're familiar with what's referred to as the Stafford Act, so that whenever you do find that bid, it really speaks to your company, and then you're able to respond to it. In fact, I always go to my favorite one of my favorite quotes to start off with, just to know that everything we talk about today is that it's supposed to be hard. Okay, if it were easy, everyone would do it. So you're here at 3 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon to understand, to really kind of learn more and step forward and get past that hard stage, because a lot of it's just making sure you know exactly what to do and where to go to look. And so I'm starting to see some questions. I'll get to some of these questions as we go along. But the purpose today is I'm going to really kind of identify the structure of what's referred to as an RFI. Sometimes I talk about RFPs. Sometimes we talk about invitation to bid. But the RFI is what you typically see when you're in a disaster situation. And as we all know, there's really, various stages of disasters. There's preparedness, which is what we should have been doing for the last year, getting ready for something like this to happen. And then you actually have the active situation, which we find ourselves right now. There's the storm is coming in, and they're looking for contractors in a variety of areas, from getting, from directing traffic to going in and actually being right there in immediate removal, debris clearing, and some of the immediate activities that are required. And then you'll move into the post remediation stage, where you're, sometimes long term. We're even posting now bids for Ida and hurricanes in the past, because that could take a year, 2, 3 years out before they actually are in the stage where they're doing reconstruction and redevelopment. So even still though, all of those funds are guided by the Stafford Act, and I'm going to discuss that with you today. And I'm going to actually go in and just search some searches and look at some actual RFIs, so you can see what an example really looks like now, what you should be watching for. And I'm also going to, point to some tools that you can use, ChatGPT, or the GovDirections Writer, RFP Writer GPT that we have now. Things to help you get and craft an immediate response back to these RFIs that you might need to do. And most of these, you act in a very quick way, and you have to do that in order to be at the table. Anytime we're talking about working with government, and I mentioned earlier the concept of the theory of the firm, but governments use contracted instruments to get to basically manage that flow of information to contractors. So you're all treated equally. You have an equal access to the information, and then you can all have an opportunity to actually go out and procure. And you'll see those. The most common with a disaster situation is the RFI, but typically you could see the request for qualifications or even source of salt. So they have an immediate need, and they want to see if there's someone who can provide this service that they need right now. And you can respond to those sometimes by just email or by fax, or potentially just uploading some information on a form that they may place on the internet. And this happens very quickly whenever there's an immediate need. Then you have more formalized processes, maybe a little bit later on, where they'll say, we need this particular item done, give us a quote, or a more formalized bid, or even eventually saying, we got to come in and get prepared, prepare our community in the future, or get some things to reopen. So give us a proposal of how your company might be willing to do it. And I think I saw just a few minutes ago, things like the health entomologist and things those require more of a complex proposal back to the organization. So, what is the request for information? We go back and we actually I like to look at the pure definition of what it is, to draw emphasis to the fact that it is competition. It's still a solicitation. And so they want you to respond. They're looking for your help. You have a valuable commodity or service that you provide, an asset of some sort, and you're a potential supplier to them. And so they need for you to respond in a professional way so that they can then potentially engage with you. And I share with you, as a part of this, they're looking for a business proposal. They want you to be organized. They want you to be ready to go. They want you to have your capability statement. They want you to send a strong signal that you're not just a fly-by-night company, that you're there, basically you're legitimate, and you're available to go in and actually help them, and they can count on you to get the work done. And so, this process, though, is meant to gather information about your capabilities in the market with the RFI. So they're looking to see who can help them, who's qualified, who has the types of services or supplies that they need, and that's why they use this document. The typical parts of one, and just about any contracting instrument, you'll see it very quickly. They'll do very shortened versions. Sometimes an RFP, I looked at one just the other day, it's a couple hundred pages. Well, an RFI might be a page or 2 pages. So something done somewhat quickly, where they give you a quick statement of work following what's referred to as the ABCs of contracting: accuracy, brevity, clarity. Very clear statement of work. And when you read that, though, you need to say, this is what I do. And if you don't, that's, you can really kind of walk away from it. And I'll share that concept in just a minute. But then they might get into some specific technical specifications. So when they need it done by, what kind of equipment that you have to have. How do you come in and actually help them in the situation? They give you a schedule. We need this done within 3 days, within a week, whatever it is. And we want that response back this afternoon. So you get really kind of 2 different parts of the schedule, almost always immediate needs. Okay. So that schedule first is how you respond. Second is when you have to get the work done. And then that's when they give you those lists of deliverables. How, like with debris removal, oftentimes they'll say, we need this done within a particular time frame. And not only that, but we want to have a debris monitoring contract that's going to monitor that you actually got the work done, and that you responded correctly, and you moved in and you helped them. And I'm just talking about debris now, because oftentimes that's the very first part, the most immediate need that you find from a contracting standpoint. And always paying attention to those contract terms and conditions. Sometimes they're already having pre-established, or you having to follow the rules set by FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or the state emergency management agency that you're in, or others. And you got to have those and understand those. They expect you as a company to know that. You typically are referred back to FAR, the Federal Acquisition Regulation. That's at acquisition.gov. And when they say FAR, whichever subchapter or whatever, they expect you to go and read that and know how to get there. And I'm going to point that out to you in just a few minutes. And then they're going to tell you how they want you to respond. So you all are equal. A lot of times when we're looking at an RFI, or we're actually looking at a quick response, it's going to be in a pre-established form, usually on the internet, and you're filling in the information and you're hitting submit, and then it's there, and they capture the data. They don't need it. They don't need you to leave things unanswered. They want you to have a good sentence structure. Don't just take it lightly. Pay attention to it. Have your documents ready to go so you can upload those. Or, ideally, have that capability statement built in such a way that you can actually pull the details from it for an immediate need in this field. Using tools like ChatGPT and others to actually pull the answers back in a concise manner so that it comes back and makes sense. Makes you look like you are ready to go, that you fully understand. And that's so important when you're setting yourself up against competition. And then always have your qualifications and your experience. And I have Google Drive that's set up routinely for my customers, for our clients here. And with one of the specific areas is having your bio ready to go, having short summaries of all the work that you've done, everywhere you worked at, solid images of your company in action, the types of equipment you had listed. Have that information at your fingertips so you can grab it and go with it, drop it into these forms, and that's going to catch the attention of the contracting officer who wants to know when they work with you that they can depend on you. Okay, your first goal at any time you respond is not necessarily just to grab the work, but it's to build a confidence in the contracting officer that you know what you're doing. Because if you do that, then the other comes natural. They can pay you a little bit more money. They don't want to, of course, but they can. Okay, they don't mind that part. What they can't do is hire you when you can't get the job done, and that basically puts a stain on their reputation that they're not vetting you properly. So they're going to look at your small business profile, SBA, and the dynamic small business search system. You need to make sure it's stellar. It says what you're doing, that everything's ready, because that gives confidence to the contracting officer. They use that daily, hourly, by the minute on these type of projects. And right now, when they're going through, and you want to know how are they going to find me? How do they know that I'm available to this work? They're going into this directory and they're searching for the keywords to find your company. And this is probably the number one way to get the micro purchase or the direct buy or the direct hit for your company. That's how they're finding folks. If you want to know how your neighbor's learning about these projects and you're not, it's because their profile in SBA is looking better than yours. And so that's catching the attention and they're linking directly to their capability statement. And I'm going to show you a couple of them in just a minute and how they go about doing that. And then finally, understand how much you're going to charge and make sure it's in a competitive structure. And so because they're going to ask you that. And then always understand how they're going to evaluate. To be honest with you, when you're doing an RFI or a quick response to a disaster situation, those evaluation criteria are loose and not so tight. What they're primarily doing is making sure they want to make sure that you're in the region that they're looking for the assistance. That's part of the Stafford Act requirement. But then they're going to sit there and make sure that you're legit, that you got some experience level. So have those past performance items on your SBA profile or on your capability statement. You're speaking to these things that they're looking for, and so that's important. So that's not going to be always the point system or the other types of methods. Oftentimes not going to be a price-driven situation. You're going to work within the FEMA requirements, and those are typically lucrative contracts. And so this is the typical parts of that RFI you're going to see, and you need to know where to go at and quickly review it in just a few minutes, and then they'll be able to respond to it and have all this data ready to go and not be stumbling around. And the most important part of that is that statement of work. So whenever you see it and you understand what they're asking for, it needs to sing this song, that Coldplay song, "You're the One That I Wanted to Find." Because if it doesn't say that to you, then you need to move on. Okay, just go on to another. It needs to say that, or it's not really the kind of work that you want to do. It's better to pass a contract than to get one that you can't perform. And whenever you do this, I think the way to know that is, here's some tips here. Make sure you read that entire request. It almost always going to be a page, maybe 2 pages at the max in a disaster response situation. If you're looking at disaster spending contracting later on, the post remediation, those are going to be a lot more detailed. Pay attention to them. Okay, and then look quickly at the areas I just talked about, specifically that statement of work and the technical specs and the deliverables. Move at a timely basis. This is all time sensitive, usually within a very quick hourly basis even. And always make sure that's a good fit for you and your colleagues, that you can actually get in there and get the job done and get out, and it's a profitable situation. Oftentimes, the first question I'm asked when I'm helping a client with a response, they're asking, what should I charge? And I'm going to ask them, what are you planning to charge? Because you need to understand how to make money in this marketplace and what it's going to cost you to actually do the work. before you actually bid on a project. Once you know how much it's going to cost you, then you can take a step back and say, yeah, am I competitive? And do I need to shave funds anywhere? And that's when, that's not such a hard concept to grab, but it seems like it is a lot of times when I talk to folks. And always understand that you're just like, I can't respond to something in 30 minutes. Well, if you're ready to go, then you can. And so work is going to expand. So it's to fill the time available for its completion. If you got everything ready to go, and it takes you, and they're going to give you 3 weeks to get it done, well, you take it 3 weeks to get it done. But if they take it takes you 20 hours to get response or 3 hours, you need to have everything ready so you can take advantage of that time in the appropriate way and you complete it in a quick way. This is a simple Parkinson's law. It's a business law in a sense that this is how you got to work in order to make sure you have good, profitable business flowing in. And always, 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 the only source of knowledge is experience. It's Albert Einstein's famous quote. And you got to get in there and you got to respond and you'll get better at it. Okay. And you can't get frustrated simply because you don't win. In fact, I would just share with you, there's studies that are done about why a decision is made in the government contracting space. And, over and over again, what they learn is that there's social and emotional factors that come into play whenever you're responding to a government contract. And they actually have a higher degree of importance whenever you're doing an emergency response and it's not so formalized. So they like you, or you just happen to come at the right time. These are the kind of things that are really socially or emotional factors and not necessarily driven solely by, an AI decision-making criteria. And so know that. So it's not always your fault that you don't win something. And so don't just beat up on yourself. Learn from it, move on, and get the right one. First thing you got to know is this is an organized project. It may seem unordered, but it is organized. The Thomas T. Stafford Disaster Relief and Emergency Assistance Act governs the way governments work with you in disaster relief. Okay, and FEMA is required to contract according to that law with companies in the affected area when feasible and practical. Now, the truth of the matter is, the businesses right now in the Tallahassee are probably getting out of the way, but coming back in, they're going to be typically impacted. So it's hard for them to step in and be contract with this. Maybe later on that becomes important. But right now, what those government's going to need are anyone. They can go in there. But the first rule of thumb is they work within the affected area. And so right now you're seeing where the governors are coming in and they're declaring certain counties. And one reason you do that behind that is because that then gives FEMA and others the ability to come in and contract with companies in those areas. So if you're in one of the affected areas right now, you know that by now, and you can start reaching out to them. Get on. When I'm going to show you this form in just a few minutes. Get in there and say, "Hey, I'm in an affected area. Please pay attention to me. I'm ready to go." Okay. Second, you have here what I'm talking about. You must be registered in the appropriate databases, or they can't consider you. Okay. And that first one that you have to be registered in when you're using FEMA dollars is a System for Award Management, SAM. Okay, SAM is the accounts payable system for the federal government. It is not a bidding platform. A lot of us are confused with that when we first do. But you got to go in there and they're basically vetting you. About 1,200 companies a day register there, and everybody wants to win the federal government contract. But the truth of the matter is that that's not such an easy thing to do. It's more likely, though, that you're going to end up getting a FEMA contract through a county agent of some sort or a local, but it's got federal dollars attached to it. And so you have to make sure you're in SAM and that you got that UEI, the unique entity ID. That means you're vetted and you're ready to go. And a cage code, if you're going to be working on a military base, for example. All those numbers and digits, they mean something to the agents who are vetting you. Okay, so you have to have these two things. First, you have to be registered in SAM in order to receive it, and then second, you have to complete the disaster response information section. You're not familiar with SAM? SAM.gov. It's 100% free. Okay, don't fall right now. You're probably getting emails from all kinds of folks suggesting you got to pay $500-600 to register. It's completely free. By the time you provide information to someone else, you're able to provide it yourself. Just pay attention to the questions. It takes you probably about 30 minutes to walk through and register. You just follow it, get started. And if you need to go in there right now and update yourself, you can just renew your entity. So you want to make sure, I'm going to show you in just a second where you need to make sure you're ready. You're already in the disaster response registry. And I'll show you how to verify that. You just update. Okay. When you walk through at this point, the things you need to watch out for, because just remember, this is basically a fraud prevention system. So they're looking for things that might suggest that you're fraudulent. Like, for example, changing your address routinely, okay, or changing your bank account over and over, things like that. You don't want to do that when you're trying to update or you initially register. Make sure your address is ready to go when you go to register, that it basically matches your IRS information that you submitted, because this is the automated system that's going to throw it off if it doesn't match up to these other systems. So check that beforehand. Check to make sure it matches your state registration with your Secretary of State. Okay, and that's going to make the process so much easier. And then when you go in to update, you need to add a NAICS code, or you need to go in there and make sure you're on the disaster response registry. When you do that, don't change anything else, because if you do change something, it could get caught up. You're knocked out for a month or so. You don't want to have that happen. Okay, but if you just go through very quickly and just make one minor change, then you're going to be updated immediately. Okay, and so it's important that you do it that way. You need some help with here, you can sign up in our system. I'll show you in a second. We can help you with that. Okay, whenever you go in and you actually, here's my registration. You'll notice I have a unique entity ID. I have a cage code. I'll just share with you, I have never worked on a federal government contract. I have been registered with the federal government though for 20 plus years. Okay, and so I have won about 400 contracts at a local and state government level. Sometimes the funds are it touches federal dollars. So I have to make sure I'm registered here in an appropriate way. Keeping that physical address in place. It can't be a post office box. Okay. Got to have, or it has to be a physical address. When you go in and you'll learn that. But you're going to see on the left-hand side, when you go in and your active registration, you always want to make sure it's active. Okay, you don't necessarily expire in the system. They use the word expire, but you'll become inactive if you don't do anything for a year. So they like for you to go in there and update it once a year. So if you start seeing these emails that say, oh, you're going to expire and all this stuff, you got to pay all this money. You don't have to. Just log in and update your record. Just say everything's good, and then you're good for another year. Okay. They just want to keep it fresh. There's 1,200 companies a day registering, and a lot of you don't stay. About a good portion of them disappear after 3 months, and so you want to. They need to make sure that they move you to inactive stage. But whenever you get in here and look on the left-hand side, it's going to say assertions, okay? And you're going to check that out. You're going to have these options here. One of those is disaster response, okay? And you step into it, and whenever you click that, you need to make sure it says, yes, I'm in there. This entity appears in the disaster response registry, okay? You need to make sure it's checked. If you're not there, then you need to go through and update your record and add it, okay? It just takes you a few minutes to do that. That is the very first step. First step, register in SAM. Okay. When you're registered in SAM, you can actually just, when you get to that section, you go ahead and you just say, yes, I'm interested in disaster, and add that. And then if you're not there, you're not sure, check it, go to assertions as you're logged into SAM right now and check it, make sure that it says yes next to it. If it doesn't, then update, and this afternoon you'll be eligible. Okay. So you want to go in there. And when you do that, you're then going to you want to make sure that you understand the rules of the disaster response registry portion of FAR. Okay. And that's just acquisition.gov. Here's a link to it right here. As I open it up, takes you to it, tells you all the details. It's a quick start. Okay. Supporting the Federal Service Desk, telling you how to search your record, make sure you're there. Everything's there for you to learn. Okay. Not complicated, but they're going to expect you to fully understand the rules for disaster response. They're not going to sit around and try to educate you on that part. They're going to give you the reference to it, and then they're going to want you to go in and actually do that. Okay. FEMA. FEMA is the Federal Emergency Management Agency. It's in charge. They're in charge at the big level. Okay. And then you have within each state different ones. I'll speak to that. But here you want to make sure you complete the FEMA Industry Liaison Program Vendor. As soon as you register in SAM, as soon as you make sure you're on the disaster response registry. Third thing, make sure you got your industry liaison. Now here's a form, but now it's just online. Okay. And you go in there and you fill that out, and you can just Google there's a link in here in just a minute, the liaison program vendor. Okay. And then you just fill out that form, and you can submit it. You can have it done before 5 o'clock this afternoon. And when you get in there, it's going to ask you some questions about what kind of work you do, and so forth. Put in there the note that you're in an affected area for Hurricane Helene, and you are ready to go, and you want some of these contracts. Tell them, okay? It's somebody reads this. A lot of times we think these things go off into never land, but it goes across somebody's desk. I have made a point of asking folks at a very high level, do you look at every capability statement sent in? They said, yes, we look at every single capability statement that's sent to us and it's indexed properly. And so it needs to have the information that we're seeking on it to make sure you're put in the right pile. Okay. And so you go in there and you do that. Now, the truth of the matter is FEMA is a great organization. I've had opportunities to serve in emergency situations where sat down on a phone with counties to help them out, but they did do a great job. But they lean heavily on state and local governments, cities and counties and schools and your state agencies, and these agencies control a large portion of the disaster response activities. FEMA heads the effort, the state heads up, then your county emergency management agencies, and then the organization within them. So understand there is a fragmented system. We pride ourselves on that fragmentation in the United States. We want home rule. We want people in our local communities to decide how we're going to recover. Okay, we're going to look for the guidance from the federal government, but we want to just make that decision locally. And that's just who we are as a people. And so it's important that you understand there's multiple players that are involved in this. And I've got a list of just in the Southeast here of organizations that you can go into and look at. But right now, Florida is the one that's going at first. We're looking at, I think I've read the word unsurvivable storm surge. I mean, it's like that serious, up to 20 feet in some areas. It's going to be major catastrophic areas. So fortunately, it's in somewhat of a non-populated area. That's a good thing, I think. But it's there, and I don't want to play weatherman by any means. But here's the organization that takes care of it. FloridaDisaster.org. They have so many disasters in Florida. It seems like they have their own website devoted to it. Okay, and so you can go there. This is the active screenshot right now, and you can go in and you can look under business and industry, and you can find details on how you can contract with Florida. Now, the truth of the matter is right now they're looking at getting prepared and saving lives. And so they're not thinking so much about contractors just yet, but they're going to be doing that probably tomorrow afternoon. Okay, so you want to go in there. If you're in the Florida area, you're prepared to work in that area, then get your information in front of them, including just reaching out to them and sending your capability statement on the side if you need to. Okay, first go to FEMA. FEMA's collecting the data. Second, go into the individual states. Georgia, same way. Okay, pay attention. This is the state's front page right now, and so they're linking to stories and details about this. It's to their advantage to use you, and they want to do that. And pay attention to other forms of communication. For example, our governor likes to use Twitter or X, I think it is now, and he constantly tells you how to go in and respond. And they have a good communication effort. And so you watch those. And then don't forget about the local counties. Here's one I just saw about an hour ago. I picked on, and it's in Jefferson and Dodge County. Dodge County is down in like middle Georgia, already seeing problems from earlier rain bands, washing out roads. Okay, and so they're going to be looking not only to replace the roads, but the painting of the roads, and removing the tree debris, and having traffic control and things like that. These are all contracts that they're going to contract out with. And so this is not even, we even got it close to the storm yet. So this is already happening there. But looking at the individual emergency management agencies in order to get your name in front of them. And you can find those individual sites. We link to them from RFP delivery, but at the same time, you can do your own research. So if you really are in middle Georgia area, then you may want to reach out to those in Bibb County and to Dodge County and Jefferson County and some of these other counties and say, hey, I'm ready to go and I can help out. And here's my capability statement. Here's my what I'm good at and what I'm able to achieve with you, and be ready. And it's the government's responsibility when they're asking you to practice ABCs, accuracy, brevity, clarity, tell you what they want. But whenever you respond to them or you market to them, it's your responsibility. And so you need to be accurate and say, this is what I'm able to do. You need to be brief. You need to be clear in how you respond to it. You don't need to be sending them a 30-page brochure. You need one page, tell them everything about it. Have your NAICS codes on there. Have your past performance on there. This is called the capability statement. If you're not familiar with that, we've got a video that shows you how to get them done. And then I have quickly just the other agencies that are out there, and you'll see those and see them linked in here on this actual document for those who want to tap into it. You should be able to get access to it. Okay, and so here they all are, and over in the West Coast as well. This isn't the only storm. And then last, I want to show you individual contracting sites that you can also look at. They'll be broadcasting. Some of these are a little bit later, some of them more immediate. For example, the Army Corps of Engineers, that's where they'll have most of the big contract after the emergency. The Red Cross, more immediate needs. The Defense Logistics Agency, mainly on the military bases. And what we're looking at here is a path that's going to include a lot of military outfits. Okay, and so they contract that out to come in and replace things like fencing and roads and roofing and things of that nature. SAM's, a System for Award Management. Just remember, it is not a bidding platform. Everybody gets confused sometimes. It is also only the federal government. It's not going to, no state of Georgia bid's going to be on there. No Dodge County or Jefferson County bid's going to be on there. And so you understand that it's there primarily as an award management vehicle for those who may win a federal government contract. Most of us don't start at a federal government level, okay? But you do need to be registered SAM. And then the Advanced Acquisition Planning System, I would just share with you, this is whenever after the fact, when they start doing remediation, that's where they list all the future projects that are going to be funded from disaster spending, potentially when they're rebuilding buildings, rebuilding roads, and so forth on military bases and places like that. And don't forget, always affiliate yourself with prime contractors. And you can do that in a number of different ways. Go, for example, if I was in Georgia, what I would be doing right now is going to the Georgia Department of Transportation website and taking a look at the prime contractors who are winning state contracts for debris or going in and winning contracts for roads and bridge replacement. And they are already in. They got the in. Contact them and say, hey, listen, use me. And they get brownie points for helping you. So they want to. They engage with you. They want to know about you. But when you do reach out to them, be specific, be accurate, be brief, be clear on how you can help them. And I can't stress enough, and I'm move into some questions in just a minute, how important your capability statement is. If you don't have one, if you're out of luck, to be honest with you right now, you need to get it done. Okay, you could get one done probably in the afternoon. We got a video on there and some other ways to do that. If you need somebody to help you, we have a graphic designer who can help you, but it does take a little bit of time to do, about 24 hours to get that done. But you need a capability statement. That's something that's going to, if you don't have that, it's basically sending a signal to the government. You don't know what you're doing and you're not ready to go. So you need that. It needs to speak to the 6 C's. The video we talked about, Dr. Cynthia Harper tells you about that. So let's take a look at some questions that you have. And I'm going to actually show you how to go in and do some search. I got the Q&A box here. Let me just go through here real quick. You see the link on there to this document if you want to get access to it. Thank you for sending us well wishes. Your camera was on. Well, sorry about that. Whoever's got their cameras on, we shouldn't be seeing you. I'm not know what's going on there. Here, hello, how and where do I register? Okay, I'm going to show you how to register. Where could obtain access to the chat GPT RFP response? I'll show you that. Will you be sending this presentation? The presentation will be live on YouTube as soon as we finish. Hopefully, Chad wasn't too broadcast too much on there. We'll go in there, so we have to clean that up a little bit. We'll see what happens. This is a live presentation. We made that pretty clear when you joined on. Everybody joined on. And then Kendra, okay, the link. Okay, so not many questions here. So let me get in there. Actually get into the actual searching for you. Okay. First of all, if you're not Premier RFP Delivery, you want to go there, you want to log in. If you don't have an account, you want to sign up. When you sign in, you're going to take them straight to your main page, your dashboard. I'm going to show you just quickly where we're at. You can get to the YouTube video if you want that. If you don't know how to go to YouTube and just search real quick. But if you click on this little red button here, it will take you to YouTube Live, and we're going to be on there in the very first one right now. You see us, we're live talking about this. And so it should be there for you. Second thing is we have videos there that are stored. One of those specifically is your capability statement, okay, and how to do that. GovSchool, we have classes that are ready for you. We continuously do these to teach you. Okay, GovAdvice is a micro consultant platform where we help you potentially even writing your responses, learning an exponential process, teaching you how to respond. Everything we do with this organization is built on this proverb of give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, but you teach you and you can do this for a lifetime. We believe that. And so we try to help you the best we can here. Now, in your drive at the very top here, this is where you're going to have your capability statement. You want to load it up. We index these. We present these to governments who are broadcasting on our site. We have something called announce, where they announce the RFP when they're trying to reach you. We have about 130,000 companies use this system. So it's a good universe for governments to broadcast to, and they do. And so over here, when you do that, you add your capability statement, and you can find it right here. You click on that arrow and it will pull it up. And this is what we index. Okay. And this is an example. This is the demo account. Over on the left-hand side, and I would just point over here on the right hand. Some of you will see my drive, others do not. This is a premium service where we help you organize your data so you're ready to go and you're able to come in and actually do your chats and do your bidding and do templates that we have available. These are documents is for our subscribers to help you, and so that you can move very quickly to respond. Okay, and then over on the left-hand side here, if you add your UEI, I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. We link to that SBA profile. This is the profile that the governments are using to find you. Okay, and you got to make sure it's well prepared. And let me just kind of show you how they go in and do that. So a contracting officer comes in right now, and if I just say, I need somebody to help me with debris removal, they're going to come in, they're going to type in debris. Okay, and I got to make sure that keyword is tied to my SBA profile. And then they go and search. Okay, now if you provide your UEI, they'll come in and actually look you up by UEI and check you out. But otherwise, they'll come in and they'll run a quick search with this keyword, and it's going to come up. It's going to present to them companies that are ready to go. I just did a really big, made a small problem that I did the entire country with the word debris. So it could take a second to run that, but they'll do it more precise. They can go in and say, hey, I want somebody in Dodge County, Georgia, and I want them anybody who does debris to show up that is in Dodge County. So it's very specific in how they use that. And then they just pick up the phone and call you, or they basically send you an email. All your information is there, ready to go. And I'll come back to that. It's going to run a big screen, a big search there. But that's right there, tabbed to you, and you can put your UEI in your settings field. This is where you find bids. You find your industry, you find your location that you're able to serve, but you add your UEI here, and it tags your account to your organization. Now, if you're open to working with other companies and teaming on contracts, then you can actually broadcast that. You take here, you click on your logo, and you come in, you add your logo, and just change it to this particular item here, and say that you're open to team, and it'll broadcast that you're open to serve as a subcontractor. That can be beneficial to other primes that come in and show you that. So here's how that comes up in that link. A lot of times we forget to come in and add our capabilities narrative, or we don't have our capability statement, so you don't show up. So you look here, only the companies that have put that word debris in here come up. And the government goes in and let Valley Green did such a good job. They come up first. And so they're going to get attention of a lot of contracted officers who are going to potentially reach out. Because, we all kind of do that. Even when you Google, you look at the top 3 or top 4. Okay. And you got to make sure you get there and you're available. And when they tap it into it, it's because they did everything they were supposed to. They went in, they added their capability statement. They went in, they got their email, they've got a website. It's not a hyper secure link. I need to change that. We always want to put a hyper secure link because I can't really go to it right now if I'm a government without that being there. They're giving them some basically self-certification requirements. They're going in and they're talking about all their NAICS codes. They're going in and giving some past performance. Okay, they have everything ready to go. This company's ready to go. And so I'm not taking a big risk if I reach out to them and contract with them. And so that's what you want the government to do whenever they go out there to help you. In the account, when you go in, you go back to your dashboard. You get there by tapping the logo or the little human image over here on the side takes you back home. Now, if I was to go in and I wanted to use a filter within filter, let's just say I wanted to do debris removal in Georgia. Okay, that excuse me, services debris removal. Okay, I'll go in, I tap it, okay, and then I'll go in and say Georgia. Maybe I'm also interested in Florida. Okay, if I add a federal doc, then that's only going to show me the bids at the military bases and so forth. But I don't want to do that here because I'm looking for local and state government contracts. So I leave those federal alone. I save my filter. If I do that, I'm going to save it here. I can run it at any time. So you do that just to save time. We're adding 2 to 3 bids every minute. So you can run this throughout the day and get a lead on this. Some of these are going to have a 3-4 day turnaround when there's a disaster situation. Okay, when you run that, comes in and they'll come in. They'll debris remonitoring. It's due on the 17th of October. Okay, they come in. Each of these bids, rapid instant scene clearance right now. These things are there, and there'll be more of these to pop up. Okay, they change day. I tap into it. And I'll just point out nothing on our side is speculative. This is going to end up in a contract. Somebody in Dawson County is going to win this contract on October 17th. Okay, I'm going to watch this details, and then I'm going to go and I'm going to learn more about it and go through here to the external link. I'm going to follow the instructions. I might capture it so I don't lose it. Okay, because there's a lot of bids that you might be watching. Here's you monitor them there. Whenever I step through, I actually go to the agency, and then I'm going about bidding on the actual contract. Okay, details here, it downloads, and I'm giving them the information that they would need. Okay, and that they're asking for. So we monitor that way. But and I just can't stress this enough, making sure you got your capability statement and that you got your SBA profile done. This is the number one way you're going to learn about a contract in the next few days if you're in debris removal. Okay, so you want to make sure this is set up correctly. You can give us a call. We actually do these reviews and help you out and make sure you got a perfect review there. You can come in and look at over here on this says let's Zoom, and you can book any of the sessions that you might have that are one-on-one. Okay, and I just share with you that our technical services are highly sought after. But if you need a small business checkup, make sure everything's done. It's right there. It's an hour-long session, and it helps you in the process. Some of these are free, some of these are premium. Okay, but all of these, your one-on-one conversations with staff that know what they're doing. Okay, and with that said, I've shown you how to go in, how to step in, how to drill in. When you're logged in, you can come in and you can see these bids where they're at in your area based on your settings. And so it's there to make sure you have work. And with that said, I'm going to take just a second to check back in the chat box. But if I don't have any questions, I'm going to wish you all a safe afternoon and let you go. Any final questions? Okay, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. We look forward to talking with you. If you have questions, give me a call.